June 11th, Belmont Stakes 154. It's coming up. And of course, Rich Strike, the Kentucky Derby long shot winner, the 80-1 winner. He's not going to be 80-1 next Saturday, but he's in the race. That's the plan, anyways. And he's got to face Mo Donegal. That's kind of the main threat. We, the people, we're going to go through here. We don't obviously know the for sure field, and we don't know all the contenders that may or may not end up running or not running, but we do know the kind of the main chunk of them. And we're going to go through each one of them, talk about them, give us some thoughts, give our thoughts, kind of some long shots that we're looking at. I'll just go through the field as of right now. It's June 2nd, the latest I have on the contenders for the Belmont Stakes. Next Saturday, June 11th, Barber Road. That's your horse. Brigadier, this is new. Brigadier General. Creative Minister, Ethereal Road, Golden Glider, Howling Time, Kucher, Mo Donegal, Nest, the Philly Nest, Rich Strike, Skippy Longstocking, and We the People. So obviously some of those are filler, it seems, but you look at Barber Road. We last saw him at the Kentucky Derby. Creative Minister, last saw him finishing third in the Preakness. Ethereal Road was awesome. And Sir Barton. Mo Donegal, of course, Kentucky Derby, he finished fifth, but he also won the Wood that beat the Preakness winner early voting. Ness, like I said, got beat by Secret Oath in the Kentucky Oaks. Rich Strike needs no introduction. And then We the People, Skippy Longstock finished fifth in the Preakness, saw him last. And We the People was awesome in the Peter Pan. So, like we said earlier, it's not maybe like a world-class kind of race, but it's not awful. And you do have the Derby winner. I think you said you do have the horse that beat the Preakness winner. So, I mean, it could be worse, right? I think there's some interesting horses that might be prices in here as well.
Yeah, I think it definitely could be worse. And, everybody knows the top three, We the People, Mo Donegal, and of course, Rich Strike. I thought Creative Minister, if you want to talk about one that's kind of interesting, seems to be getting better, did not embarrass himself at all in the Preakness. And he's kind of that outsider that's maybe going to be the 8-1 or more that I'm really looking at again. I looked at him in the Preakness, and he came in third and got the job done. I don't see why he can't do it again. He's got pretty good breeding for this race. So Creative Minister, I was happy to see he's showing up here. And he kind of fits what we talk about with McPeak. When he's a double-digit price or around that price, fire. And if he's even money or 2-1, don't. And so he's kind of going to fit that road. I like him a little bit better than like a horse like Ethereal Road or Golden Glider, two horses I think, might take up in that spot of 10, 12, 15-1. I think Skippy Longstocking kind of showed that I don't know if he's ready for the big time. So it feels a lot like the Preakness where you got a big three and then you got to get creative. And who is that horse that's going to come in and get second or third and make this thing pay? Creative Minister, maybe a little, I can't believe I'm saying it, Barber Road, maybe he can get up and get third in this race. He's one that he's not going to stop, and that's what you want for the Belmont.
I think Barber Road is I don't know if I want to call him an upset contender, but he's definitely one because if you go back and watch the Kentucky Derby, I mean him and Mo Donegal kind of had very similar trips in terms of being very wide, and of course we'll always have to ask the question: what happens if one of those horses went inside like Rich Strike and obviously Rich Strike went outside? Would we have seen the same result? Probably not. Obviously Mo Donegal outfinished Barber Road. Barber Road, it seems like a horse that can't quite get the job done, but he's true. He shows up every race more than you can say a lot more than a lot of these horses. So yeah, I think Barber Road is a huge contender to hit the board. I would use him everywhere on the, definitely in the second and third spots. Creative Minister, do you think we're going to get double digits on him? Because, I mean, it wasn't like he didn't embarrass. He ran well, actually, in the Preakness, just right there behind the top two. And also, does it concern you that when you look at this field, he is the only horse that is going to have ran basically the Triple Crown? Now, he didn't run in the Derby, so obviously that takes a different measure because the Derby itself is a grueling race, but he did run on the undercard of the Derby. So this is a horse that's going to be running his third race in 5 weeks. Do you take that into consideration?
Yeah, I mean, you have to a little bit. I'm not too worried about it in his situation. Um, but yeah, I mean, that is a thing. And to your first question, do you think you're going to get double digits odds? I think if the Phillies in the race, he almost has to be, because he's not going to get bet past the top three, right? And I don't think the Philly will take less money than him. So I think he's almost going to have to be, just mathematically. Maybe Samit should be the one to answer. He's always, mathematically with the odds and such. But it seems like he's going to be a decent price for sure. Yeah, 3 races, 5 weeks. I mean, he's the only one that did it this year, and he still didn't really do it, but kind of. He ran on the day at least. So I'm not that concerned about it. He's a horse that comes from out of it. Usually those horses can recover a little bit quicker than ones that are just out there and go for broke early. So I'm not overly concerned about that. No.
Yeah, if he's double digits, because you got to think We the People will be obviously a lower price. I'm going to assume I would assume Mo Donegal will go off at like 3 or 4 to 1 favorite. I think that's where the favorite should be anyways. I don't think Rich Strike will be the favorite.
No.
I mean, he'll probably be like 5 or 6 to 1.
Yeah.
We the People in that range as well. So yeah, if Nest is in the race, obviously she's going to take some money. So yeah, you could be in Ethereal Road, and Creative Minister really could be kind of competing with that, kind of that next place there in terms of the odds. So yeah, I mean, Creative Minister at 10 to 1. He was, of course, the odds were crazy in the Preakness, but he was bet down in the Preakness. Of course, everyone was. It's like the craziest shit ever. But yeah, I mean, I think he did enough to where you're gonna have to make sure you get a price on him, but he also showed that he deserves to be like the 10 to 1 range. I wouldn't want to bet him underneath that. In my McPeak system, you can't.
Right. And, I think the Philly is going to get a lot of play, right? But this horse Creative Minister has a faster speed figure than Nest has ever put up, right? So Nest is more of like, whoa, she did that really impressive. She looked awesome. But the speed figure never really comes back that high. So that kind of, to me, is like, well, that's a little bit of a chink in her armor. Maybe I'm not going to play this horse, and maybe Creative Minister is going to be one to take a look at. And Barbara Road, certainly not as flashy as she is, but maybe just a little faster.
If Ness is in the race, I'm going to have a hard time not using her. Like in my top, I don't know about the top spot, but because she, you go back and watch the Kentucky Oaks, and she just kind of keeps coming. She's just that grinder at the end there. She obviously was a lot flashier in that race at Keeneland, the prep race, but when Secret Oath ran huge that day, and she still was coming, just kept coming, and she's a grinder. So I think that Belmont distance, and that's obviously why Todd is thinking that with her. If she is there, you got to think he's not running her to embarrass herself. So if she's there, I think she's a must use to hit the board as well. So if you're keeping track, there's Barbara Road. He makes sense. Ness makes sense. O'Donegal certainly makes sense to win. So where does Rich Strike land?
I have him in third in my top 5 rankings going into this, and things always change once the PPs get in front of you and you see these horses side by side. I'm in third right now, and to me, his problem, and I think it was Mark that maybe said this maybe a lot earlier in the show, and it's the same problem with Mo Donegal. It's like, damn, a closer. It's not impossible for a closer to win this, but they usually don't. And so for one of those two to kind of have a better chance in my eyes, they're going to have to sit at least a little closer. I'm not saying on the lead, but maybe mid-pack. And the reason why is the pace is usually pretty slow. Last year it was very fast, but usually it's pretty slow in the Belmont. And you look at this year's Belmont, and We the People kind of looks out by himself, right? So it kind of hurts, Rich Strike as far as, will this set up for him? Maybe he could run really, really well and still lose because the setup isn't going to be quite as good. That's the worry I've got with him. But the positive, dude, is this horse, if he's bred to win any of the 3, it's this one, right? This is the one he's bred to win.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, like say what you want about the decision by Eric Reed and the connections to bypass the Preakness. But according to him and the quotes that you read, it's like we ran in the Derby to show or maybe to prove to ourselves that we can compete with this bunch. And then our plan was all along the Belmont because, like you said, he's bred to go long, right? Well, what's the bastard do? He goes and wins the Derby. And then that makes the decision of skipping, like, hey, we never even thought about the Preakness. That changes everything. And so they stuck by it. The plan all along has been the Belmont, win or lose or draw with the Derby. So say what you want, but you're right. The Belmont should be perfect for him. It's hard to get there. It's hard to say you got 80-1, and I say you got 80-1. Whoever got 80-1 on that horse, congratulations. But if you were able to play him at 80-1, now you're going to have to play. And even if he's 8-1, I mean, think of the difference of 80-1 and 8-1, and that's what you're going to have to take here. I don't know.
That's just it. And he's probably going to be more like 4-1 or 5-1. So, that's just you laid it out. And that's the problem, right? But look, if he does win this race, man alive, are we going to have something to talk about? A horse literally maybe could have won the Triple Crown, but he didn't do it because he didn't try. That would be unbelievable. And again, you look at this field, forget about the Derby. Pretend the Derby didn't happen, and he ran like a good second in the Peter Pan, let's say. You can't tell me this horse wouldn't be taking money and people wouldn't be talking about him.
I know. And not to mention how, because like the bigger picture past this race is the Travers and how many horses have in connections, I should say, not the horses aren't exactly, talking, but how many connections have you seen Travers, Zandon and, Rich Strike, they mentioned Rich Strike wanted to go there. And of course, Epicenter possibly, and it just keeps coming. These horses, like this could be, you could get to early voting maybe. Like you get to a point where you have the Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont winner, all in the Travers.
If they stay healthy, the Travers will be the race of the year for this division, bar none.
Now, it might be the decider of 3-year-old of the year as well.
That is a huge if. I want to make that very clear. That's a huge if. These horses being healthy next week is an if, let alone a race in August, the last week in August. But if they all get there, the Travers will be the better than the Kentucky Derby. The Travers will be the best race of the year leading up to it, without any doubt. Because like I said, you could have all 3 Triple Crown race winners there. The Haskell winner probably going to be there. We don't know who that is yet, but he'll be there. Plus whoever develops, later on in the year, there's always one that does that. And then you still got those 2 out west that they got to be better than what they ran in the Derby. Probably one of them's going to be there. So it's going to be better than the Kentucky Derby this year if it all works out and they all stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Does anybody have a Bob Baffert time, like a countdown clock in their house or anything that you can let me know? But I don't know when that is. But you got to think like we're gonna see. I mean, like you said, Taiba or Taiba for sure seems like the one that we're gonna see get a reboot here and running one of the like throw those horses in the mix at some point. Yeah, you're right. I think this division it's low key impressive, this division, and it didn't seem like it was going to be that way not so long ago.
Well, here's what's happened, in my opinion. You had your horses going into it that you liked, like Zandon, like Epicenter, count the 2 out west, White Barrio, all these horses. And Mo Donegal. Some of them ran well, some of them didn't. But still, you was like, okay, they're still good horses. But the winner of the 2 races, Rich Strike, he's now thrown his name out of nowhere. So it's like, wow, we gotta at least talk about him. And then early voting came back and won the Preakness and ran maybe the best race out of anybody yet. So now he's in the mix. And he was not one, obviously. He wasn't even in the Derby, even though he qualified for it, didn't run in it. So there's horses that have jumped up in these 2 big races that really weren't on the radar. And by the way, We the People could be the next one. And so then you've got 3 horses that kind of jumped up and won that weren't considered like top 5. But all those other horses are still around that you thought were, and they're all going to reconvene in the summer. And that makes for a really exciting summer.
Yeah. And by the way, this horse, Ethereal Road, he might be in all of them. And listen, you're right, Marla. That's one of the things. I mean, I've seen Ethereal Road several times in person, and he is a big horse. But that day, and I don't know if it was like the camera angle or what, but him, or maybe B-Doc is just super tiny. But dude, it looked like when Ethereal Road is running by B-Doc, it looked like he could like stop, take a chunk out of B-Doc, take a bite out of him, and then keep going. Like this horse was monstrous compared to B-Doc. I think that added to a lot of the size difference it looked like. But yeah, he is a big horse and he looks like a good horse. And he's the problem to me is like, you want to like this horse, and he seems to make a lot of sense for this race, but we've also seen him run some really not so good races. And that's why Halter and I were both against Ethereal Road in that race, because you thought, well, gosh, I'm going to beat him here. And he looked like a freak. So I don't know. You and Marla are totally right. He looked like a Clydesdale coming down there compared to that other horse. Yeah, right, Jeff. Are we ever going to forgive Ethereal Road when Ethereal Road scratches? Right, like he's the reason Rich Strike is even a name right now. Like we wouldn't be talking about Rich Strike ever again, maybe. And because of Ethereal Road scratching out of the Derby, he got in. Of course, the rest is history. So yeah, maybe who's going to be the scratched horse that gets in when if Ethereal Road ever's in a race in the future and scratches out, if someone gets in somehow, he's automatically going to be bet down to like 4-1. Well, I mean, and you talk about Ethereal Road, why he might scratch. I mean, the horse runs every other week. So honestly, I think that's why he scratched out of the Derby. He just wasn't doing very good because he ran him at Keeneland twice, back-to-back weeks in the Bluegrass and then the Lexington. And then they circle around 3 weeks later and Lucas is like, hey, he's just not doing very good. Well, shit, I wonder why. You know? And then 2 weeks later, he's like, damn, he's doing a lot better for this Sir Barton. He said before the Sir Barton, he said, oh, I probably screwed up. He's doing fantastic. Yeah, we probably should have put him in the Preakness. Well, he's probably doing good because he got the wind back underneath him, right? Like he's not dead tired. So we'll see. 3 weeks, shit. That's some time off for Ethereal Road. He may show up and run really well. Well, we've said this before. I've said a lot about this. It's just this. It's part of the D. Wayne program, and when they're good, they're really good, and when they're not, because that's just how he trains them. And that's a lot of people said that about Secret Oath going into the Oaks, like how they were worried about playing her because of how hard he was pushing her on the track and how tired she looked and just the issues that possibly could come with that. And of course she ran huge, but you got to think she was on the line, man, of just being so tight, but also could fall apart at any second. And I wouldn't say she ran poor in the Preakness, but it obviously caught up to her a little bit. And she just was a little flat late in that race. Certainly didn't have the kick she had in the Oaks. And so that tends to happen with some of his horses. But yeah, when they're good, they're really good. Yeah, you said it best. You said it best. And I was happy to see, and I bet everybody's a little bit happy to see, Secret Oath won't be racing again until Saratoga. Yeah. I mean, she needed some time for sure. That's part of the problem when you're well, I guess not for Ethereal Road's case, but when you're a good horse, if you run. What about Jeff's plan? Throw a Mr. Ed mask on Bravazzo and bring him out of. Hey, you know what? His ass would run. He wouldn't win, but he would run. Just give him 2 weeks. He'll be ready. We'll get him ready. 2 weeks. Lucas says, "I'll have him ready." Yeah. What do you think about is We the People? I know you're probably leaning that direction. You like We the People. I like We the People, but there's the issue of you wish that track would have been a normal track that day, because you have because we'd heard that he was supposed to be good, and of course I don't give a shit what kind of he was bad in the Arkansas Derby. He just was. We saw him there in live. He was not good. So what happened? Was it the track? Was it the no speed? Is that who he is? So he's dangerous, but you also have to tap the brakes a little bit because you just still don't know quite what he is.
Yeah, he's one of 100 that we heard were good this year, right? We always hear horses are good, but he was backing it up until that Arkansas Derby. I don't have an explanation for what happened. People are pointing to the trip as like, oh, it was a horrible trip. Yeah, but he didn't do anything at all. Yeah. Like if he would have ran fourth, and it's like, okay, but he just kind of quit on him. I don't know. I don't know that he can get 12 furlongs. And I don't know that he can hold off a horse that's really coming after him late. That's the worry. But I think he's got to be in the mix because of the setup. But I'm 50-50 on what to do with him.
His issue to me is going to be I've talked about this a lot with like in the past with different, with like whether it be an Epicenter or someone that's on the lead where it's like maybe he runs a really big race and he's able to hold off, Mo Donegal or Rich Strike, but then there's the other one, whichever one I didn't mention, like you've got a handful of horses, Barbara Road and Creative Minister and Mo Donegal and Ness, will throw her in there, and Rich Strike, like they're all going to be taking their shots at the very end of this race when the real running is most important. And sure, can he put away one or two of those? Yeah, probably, maybe if he's good enough. But gosh, you just wonder if like he gets nipped at the wire, just can't quite get the job done because of all these horses coming after him.
Yeah, I mean, I think his best chance, obviously, is to get out to where he doesn't have to take a lot of those horses' best shot until it's too late. Right? That's how a speed horse, generally can win a race. He just gets way away from them, and then here they come to take their shot, and they hit the wire, right? And so, yeah, I mean, if they turn for home and horses are starting to take their shots at him and he's having to fend them off, he is going to get beat late. The biggest thing is this is a massive move up in class. We talked about this Peter Pan on one of our shows, and this is not a good race, right? These horses just aren't very good. Now, we the people definitely proved, oh yeah, there was one that was pretty good, and it was him. But this is a whole different ball game, and it's a whole different distance. And like you said, it's going to be a whole different track, and that's a big one that you asked about. It was a sloppy track. He's got speed. Nobody else in that race really had that kind of speed, and he just got away from him that day. It's possible.
Yeah, it's possible. But yeah, he's intriguing. He's definitely the most intriguing horse in the race. That's like, I don't want to know if I call him a new shooter, but I guess he kind of is. That he's interesting. He's gonna probably be too low of odds in my like he'll be deservingly, I'd say, but in my book, like you're gonna have to suck down a pretty low price on him based off that impressive performance, and it came back like a good number as well. And you're gonna have to do that, and not really knowing how legit that performance was.